What's the funniest misunderstanding you've ever had? Story. One Redditor shared a hilarious story about a time they were at a big family gathering and someone mentioned mashed potatoes. Now, the Redditor, being completely unfamiliar with this food, asked, "What is a potato?" And you can just imagine the stunned silence that followed. Everyone at the table looked at him like he had just landed from another planet. His cousin, who was sitting right across from him, asked with disbelief, "You don't know what a potato is?" He honestly had no idea. In fact, he had never seen mashed potatoes in his life before, and he didn't even know that potatoes came in that form. His family was in utter shock. They thought he was joking at first, but when they saw the confusion in his eyes, they realized he wasn't. Apparently, his family wasn't into potatoes at all. They always ate other vegetables like carrots or peas, but potatoes were somehow never on the table. So when his cousin explained, "It's a vegetable, Steve, like fries or chips," he still didn't get it. He thought it was some weird trend like kale that everyone was suddenly obsessed with. So they handed him a bowl of mashed potatoes to try. Steve, being super confused, took a bite and said, "What do I do with this?" One of his relatives said, "Eat it." He was still skeptical, but gave it a go. The moment the mashed potatoes hit his mouth, his eyes widened and he shouted, "This is incredible. Why did no one tell me about this sooner?" Everyone at the table burst out laughing, but Steve was so excited he piled his plate high with mashed potatoes, joking that he would never go another day without them in his life. He left that dinner knowing he had discovered something life-changing, mashed potatoes, and it made for one of the most memorable Thanksgiving dinners ever.
What's the weirdest thing someone has done in public? Story. Imagine this. You've just finished a long night out with friends and you're driving them home. You're tired, the road is almost empty, and you're looking forward to getting some sleep. But suddenly, the friend in the back seat starts fidgeting and says, "I really need to go to the bathroom." You're only about 3 minutes from their house, so you think, "Okay, no big deal, just hold on a little longer." But then the situation takes an unexpected turn. They look at you, panic in their eyes, and say, "I can't wait any longer. I'm going to do it in the back seat." At first, you think they're joking. "No way," you tell them. "We're so close, you can hold it." But no, they unbuckle their seatbelt, pull down their pants, and without any shame, just go right there in the back seat. The smell was indescribable. The car was instantly ruined. The driver was frozen in shock. There was nothing he could do. He just sat there, staring ahead, trying to focus on the road while his friend in the back seat was doing what they had to do. The driver was in complete disbelief that this was actually happening. After the deed was done, the friend casually asked, "Hey, you got any air fresheners back there?" The driver was still trying to process what just occurred. He kept looking in the rearview mirror, half expecting to see something straight out of a comedy movie. The best part? The friend didn't seem embarrassed at all. They even rolled down the windows, saying, "You can't even smell it, it's fine." It was at that moment the driver realized that some people have no boundaries, and this would be the most memorable and awkward ride home ever.
What's the funniest thing you've ever done to impress someone? Story. Let me tell you about a guy named Bob. Bob was at a fancy dinner party hosted by his wife's boss. The atmosphere was top-notch. elegant dinnerware, fine wine, and a beautifully set table. Bob was trying his best to act all sophisticated, but when it came time for the main dish, steak, things took a turn for the worse. Bob wasn't exactly thrilled with his steak. It was overcooked, dry, and frankly, he wasn't impressed. But instead of quietly suffering through it like a normal person, Bob decided he had had enough. "This is ridiculous," he thought. "I'm not going to sit here and pretend to enjoy this." So, in an act of pure frustration, he picked up his steak and threw it out of the window. The problem: the window was directly in front of his wife's boss. The steak flew through the air and hit the glass with a solid thud. For a moment, it felt like time stopped. Everyone in the room stared at Bob. His wife's boss, sitting right next to him, was completely speechless. Bob's face turned bright red, and he started profusely apologizing, trying to salvage the situation. But instead of getting mad, the boss burst into laughter. "Well, that's one way to show you don't like your meal," he said, clearly amused. Bob was still mortified. He thought for sure that his career and marriage were over. But surprisingly, his wife's boss found the whole thing hilarious, and even the other guests started laughing. It turned into a funny moment that everyone would remember for years. Bob's wife, however, was less than thrilled and told him to never do that again. Especially not at the boss's house.
What's the most awkward situation you've ever found yourself in? Story. One Redditor shared one of the most awkward moments of his life. He was at a store buying a condom for the first time when an elderly woman walked up to him and started asking all sorts of personal questions. She wasn't just making casual conversation. She was grilling him like she was his mother. "Are you sure you know what you're doing with this?" she asked. "Have you thought about the consequences of your actions?" The Redditor tried to dodge the questions, feeling his face turning bright red. Yeah, I'm good," he muttered, trying to keep it together. But the woman wasn't done. She asked, "Do you know how to take responsibility for your decisions?" "This is serious business, young man." At this point, the Redditor wanted to crawl into a hole and disappear. He was standing there in a grocery store trying to buy one of the most awkward things in the world, and this woman wouldn't stop interrogating him. To make things worse, other customers started to notice and give him strange looks. The Redditor tried to speed up the process, but the woman was relentless. "You need to be prepared for the next steps," she said. "Do you understand that you're entering into a big responsibility?" Finally, he managed to escape the store, but not before receiving a series of awkward stares and whispers. He couldn't stop laughing about it later, but at the time, it felt like he had just lived through a personal nightmare.
Have you ever had a close call with death? Story. Here's a Reddit story that's equal parts scary and amazing. One Redditor shared how the Reddit community literally saved his life. For days, he had been feeling nauseous, dizzy, and suffering from constant headaches. It didn't seem like anything serious, so he just brushed it off. Then one day, he decided to post about his symptoms on Reddit, asking if anyone else had experienced anything similar. He got a ton of replies, everything from "you probably just need rest" to "it could be food poisoning." But then someone suggested you might want to check for carbon monoxide poisoning. At first, the Redditor thought it was just another random suggestion. But as more people suggested the same thing, He decided to take action. He checked his stove and discovered that it had a gas leak, which was the source of his symptoms. Without realizing it, he had been slowly poisoning himself. Feeling a rush of panic, he immediately called for help. Emergency responders arrived at his home, and they confirmed that he was indeed being poisoned. The Redditor was lucky to have caught it in time, thanks to the advice from Reddit strangers. It's one of those moments that makes you realize how helpful an online community can be. Without Reddit, this guy might have had a much darker outcome.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed these hilarious and wild Reddit stories, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more fun. Leave a comment below with your favorite story and let us know if you've ever experienced something as crazy as these. See you in the next video.